How's it going? And this is the first entry into the re-review series. I'm going to be playing Dishonored, and I've played this game before, back when it came out in 2012. So what I'm going to do with this series is I'm going to review the game completely based off memory, and then replay the game and review it again to see if my opinion still holds up based on what I remember about the game and how I felt about it. So when I played the game in 2012, my brother and I don't know how we got so excited for it, how we even learned about it really, but we were both very excited for it, and we got it pretty much right when it released, which was something we typically didn't do. So we played the game. There were lots of times where I had to watch him play it, and then he had to watch me play it, because of course we were sharing one Xbox. It is just a great game. I remember it being a fantastic game. I did a pacifist playthrough, a no killing playthrough, that whenever there's a moral choice in games, I typically always do the good side of the moral choices. That's just sort of how I am. But unfortunately, I was spoiled on the game. I remember I was sitting outside at lunchtime. I was in 9th grade when I was playing this game, and I think the game had just come out, but my brother and I hadn't bought it just yet. So I was sitting there, and there were some guys a couple tables over, they were talking about it, so of course my little gamer boy ears honed in on their noise wave, and they started talking about parts about the plot, and I was like, what the heck, you're just gonna talk about that in public? Which I guess it's my fault for eavesdropping on someone else, but yeah, the story was spoiled for me, which I probably should have seen all that stuff coming anyway. Maybe that one's on me. It definitely didn't ruin the experience. The story was never, gonna blow my butt or anything. But otherwise, the main best part about the game is I love stealth games. The first person stealth with the blink power and all the other powers you got was just absolutely fantastic. As well as, even though I didn't take the killing option, having that option there was really cool, and each mission having a path that you can take where, like, let's say you have a target for this mission, you can either just straight up donk them, or there's a whole non-lethal route you have to go through to do all this very specific stuff, and I thought that was really cool. This was my first ever sort of immersive sim game that I had ever played. I had never even heard of the immersive sim genre before this, so I thought it was just a first-person stealth game, but it definitely had immersive sim elements that I enjoyed a whole lot. The level design was great. I mean, the story was good, but like I said, I remember around the time I played it, I would listen to that Drunken Whaler song constantly, the one that's sung by all the little girls, and it's super creepy. I thought that was like, whoa, this is music. I would listen to that all the time. It is such a good song. Sneak peek to future me that has already played the game, I went back and re-listened to the song, and it is terrifying and super creepy, and it actually gave me chills. But overall, my memories of this game are very much more on the positive end. I love the gameplay, I love the art style. I really don't remember having any problems with the game. I of course played the entire game. I've played a little bit of it again before, but it was only like the first level or two. But I really don't remember having any problems with the game, and it just being a fantastic game. So I'm really curious to see if, when I play it again, if I do end up having some problems with it, like some minor design stuff. That's the entire point of this re-review series, is seeing what I can find that I just don't remember. But let's go ahead and play the game. As I said before, this is now the second time I've played Dishonored. The first time I played it was on the Xbox 360, back when I was like 15. And this time I am playing it on PC with a mouse and keyboard. And for comparison to the previous thoughts I had before I played it again, I must say that those thoughts held up. This game is still amazing. I do have a few notes to mention and some slight not really criticisms, but also kind of criticisms. I do have a few of those, but for the most part, it's just an absurdly solid game from the very beginning to the very end. The story of the game follows Corvo. He is the bodyguard for the Empress, and when he comes back from a long trip to seek help for the plague that they're experiencing, he went to seek help from other nations, and he's returning with the news. He goes to meet the Empress, and something's a little suspicious. The atmosphere is a little shifty. You can tell by how the guy painting has poop in his pants. You know, things go down. Someone may or may not die. Corvo may or may not get framed. And from there, it's Corvo trying to clear his name with some guys who believe that he didn't do it, and they're trying to take out everybody who set Corvo up and killed the Empress. So for this playthrough, I did a low chaos playthrough. I didn't kill anybody, and I did it on hard difficulty. I mean, when I say I didn't kill anybody, I wouldn't even kill rats. I wouldn't kill the little whatever things are on the riverside that shoot that acidic spit at you. I didn't kill anything like that. This is the same type of playthrough I did originally. I think I did have a few Ks when I originally played it, but I'm just the type of gamer where if you give me some sort of moral option, I'm always going to go the good way. I feel bad when I go the bad way. I don't know what it is, but when I do the evil route, I just feel gross and bad, and I feel bad for the characters. But this game offers multiple endings based upon how you played through the game, whether you killed people or not, whether you killed normal enemies, whether you killed your targets, and it is a spectacularly designed game. The way missions are designed is Corvo, the main character, is given a target to assassinate, and Corvo must break into whatever location the target is at and assassinate them in a whole bunch of different ways. Each target has multiple paths you can take to get to them, and each target also has multiple ways you can assassinate them. But what about doing a no-kill playthrough? Luckily, there is an option for every single target, a way to dispose of them without having to kill them. And the way you want to deal with each target is completely optional. So when it comes to killing them and assassinating them, you can do it however you want. But the non-lethal way usually requires doing another set of objectives. For one example, you have to kill two brothers who run a brothel. And if you don't want to kill them, you can talk to this gang who's in the general area. And after doing a few favors of them, you know, getting a note from one of their guys that went missing, and then some information from another character, you can take all that back, and they will dispose of the brothers without killing them. So within each level, every potential objective and everything is all stacked into one area or one set of areas. So every level is extremely dense and packed with multiple routes, and every single route has different purposes based upon which way you want to play the game. If you want to go stealth, no kill, you better, you know, sort of stick to the roofs, keep away from everybody. You want to just hop in and fight everybody? Psh, go for it. There's main patrol pathways you can just hop on and fight everybody. If you want to possess a fish or a rat and find a hidden route, go for it, bud. Doesn't really matter. Games often market the choice that they have, or often market the fact that they have choices, but this game, compared to others that I've played of that ilk, actually does have choices, and they actually do matter. Every path you take could lead to you getting killed and found, or having to kill people, or slipping by unnoticed. Every single move you make is being watched by the outsider, and every single move you make has an impact on the world, which is, which ending do you get? The more people you kill, the worse the plague gets, and thus the more people inflicted with the plague show up in the world, and the more rats show up. Every single decision matters. All the powers and weapons you get support this sort of multiple ways of playing as well. The main power is Blink, which is sort of a teleport. You can aim and then it lets you blip around the map and get to higher locations, get to lower locations, all that kind of stuff much faster rather than having to slink along the ground the entire game. There's also abilities to have wall hacks essentially that lets you see through walls and see your enemy's vision cone. You can possess animals, you can possess humans, summon a swarm of rats to eat people, you can stop time, and there are a few others. So you can upgrade each of these abilities as well with runes you find through the level. And these runes you have to go out of your way to find. You have an item with you that lets you locate exactly where they are, but there's often some sort of small puzzle or some sort of small challenge that you have to do in order to get to it, such as a bunch of enemies in your way that you have to figure out how to get through them in the particular way that you're in a particular style that you're playing the game in, or it's locked behind some sort of safe or somewhere that's difficult to get and you have to find the specific path given the movements that you have. And all of that is so much fun. There were some runes and bone charms, which is another sort of upgrade you can do that's just like a passive upgrade, but there are multiple of them in every level pretty much, and it helps make the level not only feel more open, but you also discover more routes more naturally that way while trying to find them. You discover more information and all sorts of stuff like that, that just makes the entire level design feel more dense and alive. But when it comes to the powers and equipment, that's where my main criticisms for the game come in. For the non-lethal playthrough that I did, there really aren't a lot of powers and weapons you can use. I mean, Blink is great, the wall hacks are absurdly useful, and the double jump is super useful as well. But that's really about all you need to be able to get through the levels comfortably. Well, also the sleeping darts as well, but everything else is focused on killing enemies, like powers where you can turn enemies into ashes when you kill them, building adrenaline on melee hits, summoning a swarm of rats that eats people alive. All these options are great and fun and allow you to play the game more creatively and how you want in different playthrough. But of the 6 supernatural powers and 4 character enhancements, every single power and enhancement is useful in a high chaos run, but most of them are completely useless in a stealth no-kill run. And the problem extends to weapons as well. You have a pistol, you have explosive bolts, you have normal bolts, you have grenades, wire traps that slice enemies to bit when you walk near them, rewiring tools that make enemies' own devices turn against them. And unfortunately, none of these items can be used in a non-lethal play. Essentially, I just wish there were more non-lethal options to change it up. I still had tons and tons of fun, don't get me wrong on that, and the way you can play the game in so many different ways and the way the gear is suited for all those different play styles is amazing, and it gives the game insane replay value. It's just, I always try to play stealth games in as non-lethal as you can, and that limits the ways I'm allowed to play a little bit, unfortunately. But really, I do understand that that's part of what makes different playthroughs both possible and more fun. The fact that you're not relying on all these different same weapons and everything the entire time, and limiting you to the amount of items you can use introduces challenge into the specific run style. So this section's hardly a criticism, it's just I just like the game a lot, and I just wish I could have done more, you know? I just wish there was more to do. My other main problem with the powers is it gets kind of easy once you know what you're doing. Once I had Blink upgraded all the way, once I had the double jump, and once I had the wall hack power, it was kinda really easy. I mean, I made a couple slip ups here and there, but I really figured out how to get around the entire map without a problem. I always stayed to the roofs, I always went around the outside. Of course, I tried to get every rune I could, tried to get every bone charm I could, tried to collect as much money as I could, but for the most part, it really kind of got a little easy. In even the last mission, which was this giant fort with the most guards and most weaponry you've ever seen in the game, I just slipped around literally everything using these like super hidden clean paths that relied on my movement to get to. And it was tons of fun to be rewarded in such a way by mastering the movement and the mechanics to where I could just go around everything finding hidden paths. And then the moments I was forced into tighter quarters were more difficult. But still, when it was an outdoor area, it kind of became a little bit too easy at time. And that, I feel like a big part of that was because the wall hacks power is just absurdly OP. The thing lasts for like a minute, and the amount of mana it costs to use is the same amount of mana that you can automatically replenish if you just wait a couple seconds. So you can just use the hack and it stays there for like a minute, and you can see the vision cone of every single enemy, and you can see them for a pretty decent radius. And so it was kind of like that Arkham Asylum problem and some of the Splinter Cell games problems, where I spent pretty much the entire game in this wall hack vision. I never got to really see the world because the wall hack was so useful I couldn't not use it. That power, I think, was a little bit too OP, and I would love to play the game without it, and that's something I think the game is designed well for as well. It is one of those games where I could see myself 100%ing it over the course of multiple playthroughs over time. There's a playthrough called Mostly Flesh and Steel, and in that playthrough you don't buy any powers except for Blink because you're forced to, but you don't really use it, any sort of enhancements, and you play the game as grounded as you can be with exactly like what you're given at the beginning of the game. And I think that playstyle would be super fun and much more difficult, and part of that is because of the complex level design with how there's so many different routes. Having to be forced to be more grounded would be such an interesting way to go about the challenge of all these complex levels. But like I said, I really don't have too many other problems with the game. It's just such a top tier stealth game. The world and the art style are just bursting with very dark personality, and the replay potential is, I'm usually not a person where it's like,
bro, this game has so much replay potential, oh my god, I'm gonna play this. This game has so much replay potential, and then I only play 5 hours of the game and then not play any more of it and say I love the game even though I've only played a half of it. But it has so much replay value that the fact that it's there even though I didn't finish the game, that's nuts.
I'm not that kind of person. Replay value, of course, is a pro to any game, but this is one where, for me personally, I could see myself actually coming back and trying all the different ways to play it. So I'd say if you have not played Dishonored, go and play it. It goes on sale for very cheap. The reason I decided to play it again was because I've been waiting to play Dishonored 2 since it came out, but I'm really cheap, so I never bought it. And just recently, Dishonored 2 and Death of the Outsider, the third one, went on sale for very good prices. It was like $4.50 each, which is absurd. So I bought them both and replayed Dishonored just to get ready to play through them again. So maybe you'll see some reviews for those. You never know. I hope you enjoyed it though. You guys have a good day and take care of yourself.